Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. If you do love a relationship story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's dive straight in to today's first story. Now this is a story that we've covered in the past, but it's had an update today actually. So if you do want to use the timestamps, please feel free to do so, that's what they're there for, and let's crack on with the story. Now today's first story comes from Sal's Slytherin, but compiled by Same Effing Blood, who says, "My husband beat cancer and now he's given up on our marriage. It's been 6 months since my 21 female husband, 21 male, had a stem cell transplant. This was in conjunction with chemotherapy to help improve his quality of life if the chemo worked as a treatment. He had metastatic brain cancer in his bones and his chances weren't good. He still has to worry about the cancer coming back in the future, but the treatment did work and now he's back to normal life. Except nothing has been normal. He's been depressed ever since he got home from the transplant. I've tried talking to him about it and showing my support. I talked to his family, basically just telling them he's feeling burned out and asking if they could reach out more. I've tried to handle a lot of my own struggles on my own. I have clinical depression and now I'm recovering from pushing that aside to be his caregiver for 2 years. I'm in counselling and I still work full time. This past week, he told me he's been thinking about it for a few weeks and he doesn't think he can do this anymore. This being our marriage. He says I always take my anger out on him and the past year has been all about me. I took a few deep breaths and then told him that's hard to believe since in the past year all I've done is work and use all my vacation days on being there for his treatments. This summer we used all our extra money on him getting his dream motorcycle and all the accessories to go with it. We had planned on me getting one too, but it ended up being too expensive, so we agreed on him doing the motorcycle course and getting a bike himself. I've been focused on my therapy and healing. I've been going to work every day. I also got basically ghosted by my best friend after she got married this summer. I've had repressed memories and childhood traumas come up in the last month that I've been working through basically on my own. My husband knows, but we've had a total of 2 conversations about it. When I try to bring it up, he makes the conversation about something unrelated. I said I wanted to go to marriage counselling since he's been refusing to see his own therapist or counsellor for the last 3 years. He finally got himself a counsellor instead and I feel like it's too late for that. After he told me this week he thought our relationship was over, I snapped. I told him if he was giving up then I wasn't going to shut up about the pain I'm dealing with anymore. I'm always forced to be quiet to listen to him talk about what he's going through, and I've done it happily for our entire marriage. And to hear him say those things felt like the ultimate betrayal. Now he wants to take it back. He says he never should have said that, and he wants me to give him time to work with his counsellor and heal. But I still think the problem isn't addressed. He thinks the last year ahead has been about me, when our entire marriage has been about him, and he never acknowledged that. He refuses to talk about his treatment and things we were together for, but he makes jokes about his own funeral even though it makes me cry. Does anyone have advice or questions are welcome? I think he's given up and know that he's verbalized it. Part of me just wants to be done. And as I said, we do have a couple of updates on this one. And there wasn't many comments on this particular post apart from one comment that really stood out, which just said, it was from Mild Attitude who said, "Be done. Cancer doesn't make people saints." Sounds like he's pretty self-centered and wants to make you the bad guy. Maybe because he is unconsciously upset that you are starting to focus on yourself rather than him, 110%. And we've said it many times on this channel, mental health or illness, doesn't give people an excuse to treat someone else like shit. And I do understand that. I imagine the husband's mental health is all over the place right now with what they've been through themselves. It sounds like he's been through a hell of a time, and although OP says, life's back to normal, and does say he still has to worry about the cancer coming back, it must take a toll on your mental health. And I'm not making excuses for his behaviour because, as I just said, it's not an excuse to be an arsehole. Because as always in this situation, the person who's the caregiver is also suffering. They're also having to watch their loved one go through this and try and deal with the day-to-day tasks whilst doing so. And not trying to make it about me, but just trying to relate to the story. The only thing I can bring it back to is when I was caring for my dad. And, I was only doing a part of the care. Other family members were getting involved as well. There was many hospital visits, helping change him, all this kind of stuff that was going on all the time. And it's more the mental toll I always found. Constantly thinking about what they might be thinking, what their worries about. How can you fix their worries? What's he going through right now mentally? Is there a way that we can fix it? And it just goes on and on and on. And as OP said, they have clinical depression themselves, so to be dealing with someone else's mental issues at the same time, wow. I do think it's incredibly selfish of what he said, saying, the whole marriage has been about OP rather than himself, when she's been the one who's been caring for him. And hopefully that the individual counselling and marriage counselling as well may help things, but I don't know. I'm hoping we're going to find out in this update. So the first update says, here's the skinny. My 21 female husband, 21 male, had 2 years of intense treatment for cancer. He went into remission after a stem cell transplant this past spring. Ever since, he's been negligent of my feelings and our relationship. He rarely wants to do anything I want to do. There's always a reason why we can't at the time, but he'll never consider it again after he said no. And this is about stupid things like going to the zoo or out late on a weeknight. He won't spend any extra money on me, even to get a lamp to go over my vanity or new clothes when I've hardly shopped since we got married. I make my own money, but he does all the budgets. When he was in treatment, we developed a system where I'd send him what he needed to pay the bills. He'd send my money back to me if there was extra. When we moved in the spring, our rent went up, so he said we had to cut our spending money. He told me to just keep $100 every month and send him the rest. I don't. I always say there's a few extra things I need to keep money for and hang on to a bit. But I still end up with very little in my account, and I always told him that I wasn't okay with doing that for more than a month or two while he figured out our finances. I'm not comfortable just sending all my money to him to handle, but ever since, it's been reason after reason why we haven't been able to merge our accounts. He said a few times that he understands why I want a joint account, but he doesn't see the difference since he's my husband and I can trust him with it. He knows my parents are really bad with money, and they never taught me to manage money. Sometimes he hints at that when I talk about wanting to share in our finances. But I had more savings than my husband ever did. I owned my own car before he even had one, and then his dad paid for half of it. I paid for our wedding. It was small but still nice and cost about $8,000. While we were engaged, he bought a pickup that died before our wedding. He spent his savings paying the rest of the loan on it, about $10,000. I paid the first and last on our apartment and covered rent while he couldn't find a job. This is after I got him a job at a pizzeria I'd been at for 6 months. He got us both fired. He always says they were shady anyways, which is true, but not the point. After my original post, I told him I want to set up a mutual fund, so we can at least have our cash and bills coming from the same place. He just asked me to move the appointment with the bank, then a few minutes later came out with a plan he and his brother made for us to get a joint checking account. I said that's not a mutual fund, and I want to do what we already planned. At this point, the red flags are off the map. I've talked, we've talked, he explains and explains, but things never get better for me. I can't focus on myself at all because I'm basically babysitting a grown man. I have so much healing to do and I want to do it together, but he's not letting it happen. I think it should be over, but part of me wants to keep fighting for this. After everything, I just want us to work so bad. Could this possibly be salvageable? If not, how do I pick myself up enough to face the fact? Edit. I got stoned 22 hours into replying to comments, so that's why I'm chatty. Thanks so very much to everyone who's helping me think through this. Tonight I cancelled our 2022 trip to Mexico. I think it's time I leave this relationship, and again, thank you so much to everyone who helped me realise that. I plan to update in a few days. I'll probably still need advice and I'll let you know how it's going. Now, we do have another update on this as well, the latest one. But in this one, the red flags were flying pretty high for me when we started getting to the money, when he does all the budgets and, you know, he told you to send all your money, but just keep $100 every month. Very generous, fucking hell. And then you go on further in your post to show how he's just not responsible with his money in any way whatsoever. So absolutely do not merge money with someone like that. Such a bad move. And in the first post, I was talking about, you know, the mental health of both of them and maybe, just maybe, the tiniest way that they might be able to salvage something from their relationship. But now we've got to this one, I'm sort of like, nope, I'd be out of there. But a couple more comments are on this one. So a deleted user says, honestly, it sounds like it might be over. A relationship that's entirely on his terms is no relationship at all. It feels like he's taking you for granted. I'm glad he's beating cancer, and you should be proud of everything you did to help him through that time. But maybe it's time for you both to split up so you can put that kind of energy in someone who will respect you. To which OP replied saying, this is honestly how I feel. I wish that person could be him, but I've spent so long begging him for respect I really deserve. We are young and I think I should realize that now and get out while we both have lots of time to heal. In the same breath, what if one day I'm 40 and single and wish to God I stayed with my first husband, lol. Thanks for the support, I feel super lonely right now. SS144000 says, nah, I've seen this happen to a close friend. All the bills were going from her salary and his was nowhere in the picture. End result was him defaulting on car loans and 70k plus debt on overseas travels, etc. Leave now and don't look back. OP replied saying, fuck, this is what I'm scared of. He's been telling me we're paying off the credit card for months and it's maxed out right now. I have no idea where all the money went and I'm terrified. To which SS replied to that one again and said, yep, and another friend just ended a 13-year marriage. Same shit. He made her feel dumb and convinced her she's not smart enough to have access to her own money. He's since crashed a few vehicles and guess whose name the loan is in? Honestly, I deal with stuff like this as a career. I can predict what's to come. You're so lucky you are young. Others wasted the best years of their lives and please, when you get out, get a lawyer to find out where your money has been going. And one more before the update from Butterfly Potential 20 who says you are only 21. You have so much life left to live. You're going to continue to grow and change. I feel like if you don't just cut your losses now, you're going to be very sorry later. Sure, it may be a little heartbreaking, but you will heal and down the road, you'll be relieved and thankful you made the hard choice now. You really should be alone. Find yourself. Get your therapy going and build yourself back up. Once you're ready to put yourself back out there, you need someone on your level. You can't fix him. You can't help him get to your level. All that will happen is he will drag you to his level and keep you there. Figuring this out at 21 is so much better than figuring out at 30 and a wasted decade. The longer you stay, the more unhappy you will be. You can get bitter or you can move on and get better. It'll be heartbreaking at first and that's okay. Work through it and heal. You can. It'll get easier with time. It won't hurt forever, but staying will. The longer you stay, the harder it will be to leave. Look at all you've done while stuck to him. Just imagine what you can accomplish with freedom. You got this. Put yourself first for once. You are worth it and you deserve it. And with that being said, let's move on to the update to find out what happens next. So our final update. I'm writing this from a relative's house. I told my husband that I wanted to separate nearly 2 weeks ago and left the apartment on Monday. I feel like I've changed so much since my original post, and a part of that is thanks to all the commenters here on Reddit. I really appreciate everyone who shared their insights and experiences. I've realized that my now ex had a serious dependency on me. I don't think he realizes this, but he's been talking a lot about the childhood trauma he has surrounding his mum, who he cut out of his life. In my previous post, I mentioned how he told me that he thought our marriage was over. There were other things he said at the time that were really hurtful too. Now he tells me he said those things in a moment of misdirected anger. He was angry about his mum and took it out on me. He's been really nice the last few weeks, but there's also been some interactions where he's just been asshole-ish. It's been downright disappointing, the way he reacts to me asking for help with things. I feel like he's maybe put a lot more thought into how he acts, but is still so self-centered that he's not actually doing anything to help me. He asks me questions, but never has much to say. Until today, when he asked if I had thought about how he's felt going through cancer, and if I meant my vows, and how was I just going to give up on us when he never has. Not gonna lie, guilt tripping has always been a boundary I've tried to maintain in our relationship. He doesn't do this. I was pretty done after that. I mean, I already told him I will likely want to get divorced once we've separated for a year. Legal reasons. I told him I think we should have entirely separate lives. No commitment to each other. I said we could still talk if it was good for us. But after the fact that he came to the phone call with those questions written down ahead of time. And he always told me he always fixes things and makes them right after he messes up. And he's fixed his problems in the last month. That's why he's had 2 counseling sessions and got advice from 2 older brothers. Not sure what the LQ stands for, but it says, I am so done. Like hurt, betrayed, turned off. I just want this to be over. I just know he's going to keep hurting me and I'm not going to let it happen anymore. I took my rings off for good this morning. I don't think I can regret our marriage, but I won't regret walking away from it either. I feel terrible sometimes because I know the things he's been through and because I wish I could have stayed married to my first love. And I hate that he's going through this too. But we've both been through so much. I think the difference is that I wanted to get through those things together, and he decided to go silent for most of our marriage. In the process, I got pushed away, hurt, and honestly feel a bit taken advantage of. I realize that right now, he's someone who's going to continue to push me away and freeze me out. He wants another chance, after he burned chances for 6 months, and I'm not that ashamed to admit, I can't do it. I won't. Not after everything. This man took my love and life and looked the other way while I paid for it. I hope he sees it, and I hope he really heals and fixes his problems. I can't be there for it though, and he chose that even if indirectly. I'm in limbo now, just starting to figure out what the next few weeks will look like. Dear Reddit, please help me by sharing your knowledge and wisdom and experience. I do have good support close to me, but I think we all know the unique value of relationship advice. And I'm not admitting it much, but I'm sad and scared. The last 2 posts made me feel less alone. And the majority of the replies to that update were just sort of like, well done OP for moving away from that relationship. And there was a line that really jumped out to me, and I think it was around the 4th paragraph at the very end of it, and it says, how was I just going to give up on us when he never has? Yet in the very first post, he pretty much did give up on you. He said, and quoting, he doesn't think he can do this anymore, with this being our marriage. So yes, he was giving up. So I cannot blame you one bit from walking out of this situation. It sounds like it's just mentally draining, and with everything else you was dealing with mentally yourself as well, there has to be a limit, there has to be a boundary where you say enough is enough and you need to start working on yourself and get out of that situation, because it's doing yourself no favors at all. And in reality, it's probably doing him no favors as well. He's not learning to deal with his past traumas and various things like that because his dependency on you. And I wish you the very best for your future OP, and I hope your ex does find some help as well. Now, what do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's story. Spending your time with me is always appreciated. I can never explain that enough. I'm always blown away. Sorry, I always go off on one at the end of videos. I'm always blown away, when people take the time out of their day to sit here and listen to me read a story or two and then get involved in the comments and all that other good stuff. I'm just incredibly grateful. Thank you so much for your love, time and support, and I hope I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care.